So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural roundtable discussion on Asian higher education leadership, organized by the Lili Gokongwei Ngochua Leadership Academy and in partnership with the United Board for Christian Higher Education in Asia. Today's discussion will focus on current issues and opportunities in Asian higher education. I am Asunta Kuyegeng, Executive Director of the Lili, and I will be your moderator in today's discussion. Just a reminder, this event is being recorded and broadcast live right now on Zoom and in YouTube. Joining us are educational leaders, faculty, and students from all over Asia. Thank you to our virtual participants and to our audience here at Escalier Hall for being part of this event. Before we proceed with our program, we will begin with the invocation to be led by Dr. Isabel Pefianco Martin, the chair of the Department of Educational Leadership and Management of the Gokongwei Brothers School of Education and Learning Design.
May I ask us to rise? Source of life, we gather today as leaders in education, united across cultures, faiths, and nations. We thank you for bringing us together from across the Philippines and Asia. In this time of swift change, we ask that you guide our discourse as we share our experiences, challenges, and vision. Open our minds to new perspectives. Instill in us an unquenchable curiosity, a spirit of humility, and a passion for growth. Teach us to listen deeply to the needs of those we serve. Awaken our creativity to uplift our communities. Grant us resilience and optimism to overcome every obstacle. May our collaboration spark innovation and unlock the potential of all people. Empower us to foster inclusive, lifelong learning where the light of knowledge burns brightly through every generation. Illuminate our path forward as we combine our efforts for the greater good. Unite us on this never ending journey of discovery. Remind us that in sharing wisdom, we receive it tenfold. Lead us forward with purpose, courage, and joy. Let us take a moment to think of our intention for today and pray in our own way.
Please take your seats. Thank you very much, Dr. Martin. Now, to give us the welcome remarks, may I call on Father Roberto C. Yap of the Society of Jesus, President of the Ateneo de Manila University.
Dr. Farina Lawrence, President of the United Board for Christian Higher Education in Asia, Professor Tan, our guest speaker, Dr. Sinch Bautista, Brother Oka, Dr. Wiyati Nishi online, and Dr. Paul Wilson is also online, our panelists. Our higher education leaders and participants, both here on site in the Ateneo in Escalier Hall, and those who are joining us online. A warm welcome to this inaugural roundtable discussion on Asian higher education leadership. Today, we start a conversation on challenges and opportunities of higher education in Asia within the backdrop of geopolitical differences like wars and political upheavals, technological advances like Gen AI, and climate change. That makes us question our strategies in educating a region's future leaders. This conversation is also in the context of a region that has diverse and rich cultures and ecosystems, as well as vibrant economies. While these discussions will not attempt to solve problems, we hope that the conversations can inspire us in our different contexts, look at new ways of leading our educational institutions or addressing our concerns, and perhaps even more purposefully develop our future leaders. We envision this to be an ongoing conversation among Asian higher education leaders with the help of the Lili Gokongwei Ngochua Leadership Academy and the support of the United Board. Let us together explore appropriate responses to the fast changing demands of education while remaining true to our respective missions and cultures. The motto of GBSEALD, Gokongwei Brothers School of Education and Learning Design, is Bago ang lahat, edukasyon, or translated, before anything else, education, or in a play of words, everything new in education. The motto rallies us to prioritize education as the foundation of our future. Thank you for sharing this priority with us. Again, a warm welcome to you all.
Thank you, Father Bobby. Educational leadership is challenged by a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous or VUCA world, which some say has highlighted the brittleness, anxiety, nonlinearity, and incomprehensibility that many people, especially our students, face. This Bani world, they call it now, is the new version of the VUCA world. As Father Bobby said, we start a conversation on challenges and opportunities that come with navigating this Bani world. We will begin with some insights by our guest speaker, to be followed by some inputs and discussion with our panelists and speaker. We will then entertain questions from the on site and online audiences. With me today is Mr. Chris Castillo, who will be our moderator for the online questions. Feel free to write your questions in the chat box so he can share these with our guest speaker and panelists. It is with great pleasure that I now introduce our distinguished speaker for this inaugural roundtable discussion. Professor Tan Eng Chai was appointed president of the National University of Singapore on January 1, 2018. He is a passionate and an award-winning educator. He was a pioneer architect of the current academic system in NUS and has seeded many initiatives such as the Special Program in Science, University Scholars Program, University Town Residential College Program, Grade Free Year, and Technology Enhanced Education. Professor Tan received the Public Administration Medal at Singapore's National Day Awards in 2014 for his outstanding contributions to education. He was awarded the Wilbur Lucius Cross Medal by the Yale University in 2018. This honors exceptional alumni in the areas of scholarship, teaching, academic administration, and public service. Professor Tan was also conferred an honorary Doctor of Science from the University of Southampton in 2018 in recognition of his achievements as an innovative and exceptional teacher, and then as a distinguished and respected leader in academia. In 2022, Professor Tan was conferred the title Knight of the French Order of the Legion of Honor, Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur, the highest French distinction for military and civil accomplishments for his distinguished contributions in education and research. Professor Tan's presentation today will be on lifelong education for a fast changing world. Please join me in welcoming Professor Tan Eng Chai.
Father Roberto, Mother Bernadette, distinguished guests of the panel. Thank you very much for having me here to be part of the panel and to give the introductory talk. Um, I'm going to talk about lifelong education for a fast changing world. And to preface the talk, I borrowed the phrase from the World Economic Forum. The future belongs to lifelong learners, right? And just a brief outline of the talk. I'm going to just give you a quick introduction of NUS, and then I'll talk about what we are passionate about in terms of education. And as you are aware, like Ateneo de Manila and de La Salle, we are a university. And, usually we do not deal with lifelong learning. But since 2016, we have actually included lifelong learning as part of our endeavor. And I'll just conclude with some remarks. Just a quick overview. We are the equivalent of a state university. We are pretty big. I have 31,000 undergraduate students, 12,000 master students, and 4,000 PhD students. So I have about 47,000 students, supported by about 3,000 academic staff, 5,000 research staff, and 5,000 administrative staff. Now, on NUS trust and educational innovation, basically we use the word agile as an acronym to highlight the different features of NUS education. And the word agile, A, refers to the academic framework. G refers to the global orientation and also includes the experiential aspect of it. I refers to the importance of the connection to the industry, because we pay a lot of attention to how relevant the skills that our students have when they go out to work. So we work very closely with industry. And L for lifelong learning, which, as I've said, it's something that we have only put in place in the last 7 years. And the last part is on entrepreneurship. We have a program called the NUS Overseas College Program, where we promote entrepreneurship amongst our students. That, in a way, we were just talking to Brother Bernard, that is really to give students a chance to understand failure, because our academic institutions are all predicated on success, right? We pass our students if they get A's or B's, right? You don't pass your students for getting D's or E's, right? So we think that failure is very important. It's a very important opportunity for students to understand and learn from failures. And entrepreneurship is actually one particular aspect of it, right? I love to say that through entrepreneurship in a university context, you allow students to fail under controlled environment. Now, I won't be talking about entrepreneurship, but I'll be talking more on the lifelong learning aspect. So a few years back, when I became president, we actually reimagined how education should be moving forward. Then we are in the midst of a fast-moving society, and there has been many disruptive changes across the entire ecosystem. Now, what is so the COVID did not actually stop all these changes. In fact, COVID accelerated all these changes, right? So it's dawned on us that we would have to encourage our students and graduate, right? The most important skill is learning how to learn. They can learn anytime, anywhere, right? And any subject. That's what I think the key aim of a university education should be about. And we are also seeing rapid changes in terms of career and education. We don't see in the future a very clear line between university education and a career or work. In fact, both can be intermingled. So our system is actually very flexible to allow students to take time off, to take gap years, 2 gap years, 3 gap years. Some students even take gap years to do entrepreneurship, which is fine to us, right? But we see that actually learning, especially for a degree, can be spread over a few years. And more importantly, one has to learn throughout life. So the most fundamental question that we ask is that, then how do we prepare our students so that they can learn throughout life? So that's what actually guides us in terms of framing our undergraduate framework as well as the lifelong learning framework. 3 years ago, we made a drastic change in the curriculum framework. NUS, we adopt our system from the British. We have actually a lot of specialization in the particular major, right? And you'll find that departments usually are responsible for 25 to 30 of the courses taught. And our students learn 10 courses a year. So over 4 years, they learn 40 courses. A department, the department of your major, would actually be responsible from 25 to 30 courses. All right, that we feel that is way too many. Right. So we have actually made a drastic change that impact on all our students. So we formed two colleges. I have a faculty of science with about 5,000 students. I have a faculty of arts and social science who also have about 5,000 students. I form a virtual College of Humanities and Sciences. I have a School of Design. I have a Faculty of Engineering. I merge the two of them to form a College of Design and Engineering. And the whole idea is to allow our students to go through a common curriculum. So all students in the College of Humanities and Sciences will go through a common curriculum of 1.5 years. Likewise, students in the College of Design and Engineering will do a common curriculum for 1.5 years, ideally before they choose their major, right? And there is space for students to do a second major. And the second major can be taken out of their college. So, for instance, if a student in the College of Humanities and Sciences chooses psychology as their major, he or she can take another one, say chemistry, in the College of Humanities and Sciences as their second major. But he or she could also choose electrical engineering right from the College of Design and Engineering as his or her second major. So the second major actually allows students to attempt or actually access second majors across the entire university. Right. The business school and the computing school will come on this, has come on this year. Now, the other thing, so that was the curriculum change, right? The other thing that we want to push for a change in the pedagogy, right? We have actually seen that as a result of COVID, many universities have been extremely resilient in switching to the virtual education very easily. And thanks to the hard work of our faculty members, many universities are able to do that. And interestingly, we also have actually better student feedback as an outcome, right? But we feel that we, at least NUS, we don't fully believe in a fully virtual education. we still think that it is very important to bring our students back together, all right, for face-to-face interactions. So we opt for to go towards the blended form. And by blended, it means that we do away with lectures. So we are in the process of doing away with lectures like this, uh, where we will give lectures to hundreds of students. Uh, we often see that, and I think we know that usually these lectures are not that effective because our students will be playing their phones or right playing with their notebooks. It's not clear that they are referring to your lecture notes when you are actually lecturing them, right? So what we do is to encourage our professors to cut their lectures into small bite-sized videos, right, and interlace them with questions so that after viewing the videos, they can also test themselves on their understanding. So that will be the virtual viewing, virtual learning, and the assessment part, right? But every 2 weeks or so, we'll bring them back for small group discussions. And small group, in the sense of a large university like NUS, it means no more than 25, right? No more than 25 in the group, but actively we spend about 2-3 hours every fortnight where we would actually allow students to debate, to discuss, to engage with one another on the problems that has been posed to them. So that is blended learning. Right now, we are in midst of having at least 40% of our courses, undergraduate courses, to be fully blended. This is actually a huge mammoth initiative because NUS, for our 31,000 undergraduate students, we offer 4,000 modules or 4,000 courses a year, right? So we are in the process of blending at least the big classes, right? Those classes of 100 and above, you have to blend them, right? Smaller classes can do it later. And we hope actually to be able to achieve at least 80% of our classes by 2026-27. Now, blended learning has a sort of an advantage in the sense that it allows access 24/7. It doesn't matter where you are, right? Anytime, anywhere, you can actually have access to the online content and the online assessments, right? And we will only ask the students back 3 hours every fortnight, right? And that's how we do that. Our big challenge is really how to get our professors to do it. Uh, so we encourage the young professors because we find that the younger ones are typically more motivated, they are more agile, they are more adaptable, and usually they are more supportive and passionate. Anyway, they are the generation that's more comfortable with IT. But the senior professors, we also actually provide help to them, right? While the young professors, they are able to do the recording themselves. I mean, you can imagine, right? Our students are actually more capable in doing this sort of things than us, right? To us, I think there is like a big hurdle to learn all this recording and all this. But we made it easy. We made it easy that you can actually do it, all right, using your notebook. And we even set up some of these recording studios where you can actually ensure that the sound effects, and the pictures and the background are all nicely done, right? So you have to reduce the barrier to adoption by our professors, particularly by our senior professors, right? The nice thing is that it's very scalable, right? You can actually give a blended course to a class of 600. You can also give a blended course to a class of 6,000, right? And the key thing is that you make sure that you have enough TAs And for TAs, especially for the year 1 and year 2 courses, and the year 1 and year 2 courses are usually the courses with the huge enrollments, we actually get senior students. So senior students who have done well, all right, we invite them back as TAs to tutor the classes. And of course, we train them on how to tutor the classes. We pay them as well. We pay them generously to tutor the classes. And to us, the senior students also learn. Because for those of us who are professors, you know that there's always a saying that if you want to learn something, teach it. Right. That's a saying amongst professors, right? And we feel that actually when you teach something, it gives a different dimension to the learning. So getting a senior student to be a tutor actually adds a different dimension to the learning of the senior student and a much deeper understanding. So we feel that it is possible to scale up, right? Given that we have many students who have actually gone through these courses, right? So the professors would be designing the online sort of a part with the students, because some of these students can be very critical. They'll tell the professors, this part you can do this better. Why don't you do it this way? So part of it is also to get our professors to be more open, to get feedback from some of these students in order to improve, their videos. So far, I think the experiment or the project initiatives has been doing well. And on continuing education, as I've mentioned, this is an endeavor that we have started in 2016. In 2014, the Singapore government started with the Skills Future initiative. The highlight is this, that it has become apparent that one needs to learn throughout life. And Singapore, we have 2.5 million workers. Because of the rapid change in the external environment, there is actually a need to continually upgrade and upskill our workers. If you just take 5 years as an example, that everyone needs to be upskilled or to have new knowledge and new skills, with 2.5 million workers, you have to upskill 500,000. All right, that is 10 times the size of NUS, right? And that's the challenge that I think the country face. And I take a quote from our Minister for Education, Mr. Chan Chun Sin. You said that the lifelong learning is not a 15-year sprint. By 15 years, is basically referring to 12 years of primary and secondary school education and 4 years of university education, 16 to be precise, but he's using 15 and 50, both rhymes. 50 is because the career, all of us are working, or at least our graduates are working to age 70. By the time they graduate, all right, they are 21, 22, all right, they are expected to work for 50 years. All right, so he said that it is a 15 plus 50 years marathon that we need to pace ourselves for. Right, so see how this actually changed the focus on education, that you don't concentrate in front loading, but actually you also have to care about the 50 years while you are actually doing your career. So what are the goals of lifelong learning? One, in class, what we are teaching are problems of current problems or past problems with past solutions or current solutions. But we need actually to look at future problems and to get a sense of the future solutions. All right, that is not easy. Right. The other thing is on interdisciplinarity. We need to ensure that our graduates are able to collaborate, to connect, and also to co-create as a team. The teamwork is so critical. So you'll notice that I have not mentioned, but my common curriculum, those 15 courses, are all interdisciplinary courses. We get actually a team to teach each of the course and a team of professors from different disciplines, right? So in the first 1.5 years, our students actually have exposure to interdisciplinarity. And the third thing is that the future products, the future innovations are going to actually arise from the intersection of conventional disciplines. So our learners and our graduates need to be very comfortable in working in a very interdisciplinary environment, right? And finally, lifelong learning is a way of preempting industry need. And it is so critical that we need to collaborate with industry, right, at many levels, right, in order to ensure that the skills that our graduates have or the skills that our lifelong learners acquire are relevant and useful to the industry. Not easy to do that because it needs actually you to go down to every special industry. So that's why the government has identified 23, I would say, sectors, economic sectors. And in each of the economic sectors, there are so-called queen bees. Queen bees are big companies in each of the centers that are fairly progressive and are able to lead and inform on what are the new skills that are needed in that particular sector. And that's 23 sectors can be very different. It can be the maritime sector, it can be the hotel services, and so on and so forth. And we need to work with the queen bees, right, to provide and to come out with courses that are more relevant. So it is actually a very structured government, university, and industry collaboration. Now, a little bit on the framework. I did mention that how do I get our students to be better prepared as lifelong learners? All right. Our current sort of educational model is the T-shape, right? Where the horizontal part of the T refers to the broad-based learning, right? And in the past, we have a very short horizontal part. And the vertical part, which has about 20 to 25 courses, that's the very long part, right? So in this particular exercise of the formation of the two colleges, I have shortened the vertical part and I have increased the horizontal part. But our sort of push is really for our graduates to acquire, right, as much breadth as possible, right? But that doesn't mean that depth is not important. I want to repeat again, that doesn't mean that depth is not important. Depth is still important, right? But breadth is also equally important, right? And we actually wanted our students, I'm a mathematician, if you put two t's together, it's a pie, right? And we want them to acquire more t's as, they go, and they progress in life, right? And progress in their career. In fact, the more t's, the better. If you have three t's, then this is the building in Singapore, the Marina Bay Sands, right? A picture like that, hopefully, I think we can sort of convey to the students the importance of how your educational framework is being set up. And here, we want our students to acquire more competencies. The competencies are a way. They are actually a, a way for you to hatch, a way for you to hatch if your vertical becomes obsolete, right? you can go to another vertical and then pivot to the other vertical. All right, the problem that we are going to see is this. So let me give you an example of this problem. I'm a mechanical engineer, right? I graduated from university 20 years ago. So I'm 45 years old now, right? Uh, I work in a firm who suddenly or now decides to automate. So once the firm automates, they do not need that many mechanical engineers, right? And they will need automation engineers. So do they retrain me? Or is it cheaper to hire a fresh graduate who already was taught automation engineering? It'd be cheaper to just hire and retrench me. I'm retrenched at 45. I find that my skill is obsolete. I have a family, I have a mortgage, I have another 25 years to go, right? What do I do? That is the problem. And you'll find that all these things are hitting what we call the hollowing up of the middle group of employment. So AI and all these are going to hollow up the middle part. And it is actually a big challenge for governments, for countries to try to repivot people who have skills and who have knowledge, but to repivot them in the middle of their career. Right? And that's the challenge that we are seeing. So we promise our graduates, although with difficulty, we give free courses. We said, please come and take our free courses. All right. We guarantee you 20 years. You can come and take any course you want. Right. And then you can work towards a micro credential. All right. And the government actually sponsors. The government sponsors 70% of the cost of courses. And if you're over age 40, the government sponsors 90% of the courses. So we try to encourage, but not easy. We have been lucky. I think, say 2019, I compare just the last 2019 to 2022, the 4 years. We have actually doubled the number of training hours. In terms of training places, these are the number of heads who come for training, from 17,000 to 60,000. As I told you, we have 2.5 million people working. All right. So Singapore has to train over 5 years, every 5 years, 500,000. So we are only just barely hitting 10% of it. Right. And also, I just want to comment that the every 5 years of retraining or reskilling is actually very conservative. I want ask Huawei. Huawei is a very one of the top-notch electronics company. They have a Huawei University, all right, and they have a president of the Huawei University whose sole concern is to upgrade all the 200,000 Huawei workers. So I asked him, how often do you have to upgrade your workers? He said 18 months. Every 18 months, he has to. Just to give you a sense, right? So SCALE is our School of Continuing and Lifelong Education. This was set up in 2016. And what we want is that we want bite-sized courses. And we want actually to put all these courses as blended. And we also want micro-credentials. So you don't want the person to say, oh, you have to take 10 courses, you have to quit your job for 1 year, and then you can have that skill. So it could be like 2 courses, 3 courses, right? And they can do it over 1.5 years or 2 years, right, to get that credentialing. The credentialing is the tricky part because not all companies are willing, but we are working with the Queen Bees. So the credentialing through the Queen Bees helps in that particular sector, right? So it is important that when we actually implement lifelong education, there are tremendous difficulty because universities have not actually encountered this type of environment. Even the learners are different. All right, learners come with different expectations. So we have to adapt. All right, we have to adapt. Okay. Now the question is that we always ask, in order to have economies of scale, can we mix the mature learners with the undergraduate learners? Well, we tried and we stopped the experiment for a while because we find that the two groups can't adapt to one another. So we have some mature learners that they join the undergraduate class, they will answer phone calls in the lecture theaters. All right. Sometimes oblivious to other people, right? And also other sort of undesired behavior. So will be some call a stop because we have enough critical mass to, but it is still important to see how we can actually integrate that. And more importantly, how do we get our professors to be equally versatile in teaching undergraduate courses as well as courses for mature learners? And mind you, all these uh, innovations on lifelong learning doesn't count towards all the rankings. It doesn't count. In fact, actually, it works against the rankings. I have more students, so my student to staff ratio actually deproves, and I get actually very weak points for student to staff ratio and all the others. So lifelong learning actually is not captured by rankings, but we see that as important. All right, that we should at least as a university to make a contribution. So I hope that I have given you a gist. I have disguised a lot of difficulties. It's not simple. But I have covered what we are doing in terms of education, the big changes that we are pushing across NUS, how we have actually made lifelong learning as one important part of the NUS educational framework. And be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much for that eye-opening presentation, Professor Tan. So thank you again. And I will be introducing the panelists who are here with us and also the ones online. And as I introduce you, please join Professor Tan on stage. With us this afternoon is Dr. Maria Cynthia Rose Banzon Bautista. Dr. Bautista is a member of the Advisory Council of the Second Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM2, and the Philippine Institute of Development Studies, PIDS, Board of Trustees. She is the immediate past Vice President for Academic Affairs of the University of the Philippines System. She also served as a longtime Executive Director of the University Center for Integrative and Development Studies, the UP Systems Policy Research Unit, and as Dean of the College of Social Sciences and Philosophy before her secondment to the Commission on Higher Education as Commissioner from March 2012 to September 2016. Beyond UP and CHED, Dr. Bautista served on the boards and executive committees of various institutions that include the National University of Singapore's Asian Research Institute, the Human Development Network, the Asian Scholarship Foundation, the ASEAN Quality Assurance Network, and the UNESCO Regional Committee for the Recognition of Higher Education Qualifications in Asia and the Pacific. For her work, Dr. Bautista has received several awards. These include the National Research Council of the Philippines Achievement Award for the Social Sciences, the UP Alumni Association's Professional Achievement Award, the Outstanding Women in the Nation's Service, the National Academy of Science and Technology's Outstanding Young Scientist Award, as well as its Outstanding Publication Award. Dr. Bautista obtained her Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of the Philippines in Diliman, magna cum laude, and her master's and PhD in sociology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Dr. Cynthia Rose Vanson Bautista. Next, please welcome Brother Bernard S. Oka of the De La Salle Brothers. A LaSallian through and through, Brother Bernie finished his grade school at De La Salle Taft, high school at La Salle Green Hills, and his Bachelor of Arts in Literature, Master's degree in Language and Literature, and Doctor of Education in Religious and Values Education from De La Salle University. He entered the postulancy in 1971, took the habit of the brothers in 1974, and his final vows at La Salle Green Hills in 1980. He was the former Vice Chancellor for LaSallian Mission and Alumni Relations of De La Salle University and one of the founding brothers of Jaime Hilario Integrated School, La Salle, in Bagac, Bataan. Brother Bernie is the 8th president of De La Salle Zobel School from June 1, 2013 to the present, overseeing the successful implementation of the K-12 program and championing the next generation blended learning program. On June 21, 2017, he led the inauguration of the De La Salle Zobel Vermosa campus in Imus, Cavite, which currently holds the senior high school program. He was appointed as Chancellor of the De La Salle University effective September 1, 2018, until his election as President of the De La Salle University on August 1, 2021. Brother Bernie? Joining us online is Dr. Paul Wilson. Dr. Paul Wilson was appointed as the 17th principal of Madras Christian College in Chennai, India, in June 2020. He earned his PhD in chemistry at the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology and served as a postdoctoral fellow at the Ben Gurion University of the Negev in Beersheba, southern Israel. A researcher, academician, writer, trained musician, and theologian, Dr. Paul Wilson is a master of several fields. He's an inventor, prolific author of papers for several journals of international repute and conferences. He has also been contributing articles related to education, innovation, and musicology to leading newspapers in India. He has conceptualized the idea of an innovation park for liberal arts and science and raised funds for establishing it. This is called the MCC-MRF Innovation Park and is a trend-setting project of their school. The MCC Research Colloquium, which embodies his efforts in training and creating an interdisciplinary team of indigenous faculty members for capacity building, has strengthened the culture of research, increasing reputed publications in the Web of Science Index journals in the recent years. Also joining us online from Indonesia is Dr. Ingenieur Wiyati Ningsi. Both Dr. Wiyati Ningsi currently serves as the rector of the Duta Wacana Christian University. She holds a doctor ingenieur in urban housing and development from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany and a Master of Engineering in Architecture from the Universitas Gadjah Mada in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Her areas of expertise include architecture, gender studies, tourism, community empowerment, and service learning. She has published several articles on these topics. Dr. Wiyati Ningsi is a registered architect with the Indonesian Board of Architects and has also contributed to the design and planning of several buildings and infrastructure in Yogyakarta. Last but not least is our own university president, Father Roberto C. Yap of the Society of Jesus. Father Yap is the 31st president of the Ateneo de Manila University. He received his PhD from the University College London specializing in environmental economics. He likewise holds a master's in public policy from the Harvard University Kennedy School of Government. He taught economics at the Ateneo de Manila. He was an environmental economist at the Climate Change Center of the Manila Observatory and research associate at the Institute on Church and Social Issues. Father Yap was president of the Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan from 2011 to 2020. He currently serves as president of the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities Asia Pacific. Father Bobby? So we will ask now the inputs of our guests here. We will begin with Dr. Sinch Bautista, followed by Brother Bernie, and then Dr. Paul Wilson and Dr. Engineer Wiyati Ningsi, and finally Father Bobby.
Thank you very much, Achut. Thank you, Professor President Eng Chai, for sharing with us the Singapore as well as the NUS initiatives to produce students who will actually thrive in a world where you have changing requirements of the labor market and changing requirements of life. And it's very refreshing to know that your senior professors also resist. So resist some of the changes, because one of our challenges in the Philippines is really we shifted to learning, and lifelong learning is even a later shift. We shifted to learning later than even our Southeast Asian neighbors. I think um, Malaysia did it. Singapore must have done it earlier. Malaysia did it in 2007, 2009. We did it on paper in 2012. But up to now, we're really struggling with shifting our paradigms to learning. But thanks to COVID, I mean, like Singapore, thanks to COVID shook our foundations in many ways, and we had to adjust. What we wanted if I just speak now for the University of the Philippines, we wanted to actually begin the shift and encourage the shift much earlier, but the resistance was so strong. I guess even if you say that learning, that literature and the research, the evidence says that lectures are no longer a real means of it's not really very good for learning. No matter what evidence you say, the resistance was still strong. But COVID actually broke the resistance. It's still not the kind of, I guess it's still not at the level that you're in. We shifted to blended learning. Of course, there was resistance to that, but we were all forced. So it's a way now of operationalizing and operationalizing a blended learning. Um, we also, unlike Singapore and US, which actually had a British background, and then has begun with a more general, the broader education. We had always had a general education program because of it's an American legacy, but COVID and all of the changes, the needs, what we need to do in order to adjust to the changing world, actually is forcing us to rethink our GE, our general education program. Also, the delivery of the courses before, because of COVID and because of changes, like we wanted to go modular, has made us now rethink what kind of GE program we would really need. I mean, I guess we got it from you because of your experience of putting up a virtual college. Then we started thinking maybe we should bring together all our GE, the ones teaching GE in a virtual college like Singapore. So thank you for that inspiration. But that is it. I think our problem in the Philippines is our GE is also circumscribed, and not for the University of the Philippines, but for most of our universities. It's circumscribed to the GE of the regulatory body, which is the Commission on Higher Education. But I think that is something that is being discussed also at the level of the Education Commission. So as I think that's one challenge is still the learning. The minors, yes, I guess the importance of exposing our students to different disciplines, I think is important. It's important to do that. And establishing minors, we are also establishing minors so students can have more exposure than just their main discipline. But I think that's also a problem of regulation because it's not easy to establish minors in, in the curriculum. But now I'll shift out of the university, lifelong learning. I guess life first our challenge is shifting to learning and now to lifelong learning. And maybe when we were in 1990s, our Singaporean friends, we would always talk to each other, and I would half joke, and it's really real. And I would say the Philippines is an antithesis of Singapore in more ways than one. One is the strategic. Singapore thinks strategically. It's the government that thinks also strategically. It's not just the university that thinks strategically. So once it says human resources are our only wealth, and therefore we have to develop our human resources and lifelong learning so that they will be able to retool because we will always have to produce high value in the high value value in the economy. So I think that has been a strategy of the Singaporean government and Singapore as well. So lifelong learning is really integral to, since 2016, integral to a strategy of ensuring the human resources are there and they're at the at edge of the technology that will allow them to continue producing the value that Singapore does. Well, of course, we have bigger problems. Um, we have an education crisis now in many ways. We have a learning poverty situation. We have a malnutrition situation. We have 1 out of 3 children are stunted. So we're shocked by all of this. But what that means is lifelong learning for us. On one hand, our universities are starting to do the lifelong learning at that end. In fact, in the university, it was also because of we were closed for a long time, the Philippines. And it was also because we were graduating students who did not have all of the competencies, medical students, so did not have all of the surgery exposure. So the lifelong learning was really partly to bridge. And then now it's really lifelong learning, but that is still some way to go. But the lifelong learning for the country as a whole, there's an education commission that is now looking at lifelong learning and pathways. It's really more on this end. Like the government might be helping more on this end than it could on this end, on the end of the universities, and that's where the universities must play an important role. So we envy Singapore for 90%, 80% government supporting the micro credentials, and government itself encouraging lifelong learning and making it its own strategy. So at this point, maybe that's just what I'll say. Maybe later when we converse, I'll say more.
We envy Singapore, but before remember Singapore envied us. And yeah, but the problem with learning loss and our status in the PISA evaluation of grade school students, I think part of that is a problem that the government has not really given us what I think the Organization of Economic Cooperation as a standard 6% of GDP should go to education. It doesn't even go close to 6%. And many of that would even go to the tertiary level when it should go to basic education. So what happens now is when our students or our young will go to high school and tertiary, very few are really ready for tertiary education. And if we really want to improve as a country, we should have a lot of knowledge generation, capacity building in the higher levels. And if our basic education is not up to par, then we will not reach that. Um, and the learning loss was exacerbated by the pandemic. Um, and I think we really need to develop a culture of research or inquiry for our students, and that will help them or encourage them to be lifelong learners. When they are young and they become independent learners, then they will always have this sense of curiosity of wanting to keep on learning. And if that is basic in our curriculum as early as K to 12, then when they go to senior high school and college, they will be more it desire to know more and more about things that are needed by our country. In De La Salle University, we have the School of Lifelong Learning, and it's still in its beginning stage. One of the things that we are looking at is really how do we retrain and reskill our BPO workers who sooner or later, but more sooner, will be replaced by AI. And so some of the skills that we have seen and that we're already offering is really data analytics, data cleansing, data mining. These things will be needed by those workers that will lose their jobs. But we're also looking at what does industry need. And so we have a campus in the McKinley area donated by Andrew Tan. And Andrew Tan is one of the big BPO uh, players and whose employees will probably be looking for reskilling. Okay, so that's one. Another thing that I'm trying to do, or we started already in a very small scale, but I'd like to build up, is this modality of what we call challenge-based learning for uh, for our for our computer science students in our campus in Laguna. The idea of a challenge-based learning is that they are given from their first year all the way to their fourth year very complex challenges. It builds up to a complex challenge, and that eventually they, as a group, they collaborate, they create, they think critically, they come together to look for solutions for the challenge. And the challenge is usually a challenge of society or for an industry. And they will look for the necessary coursework. So they will be the ones who probably design the coursework with an advisor on what they will need to do to eventually find the solution to the challenge. And hopefully it will be more complex types of products or solutions that will hopefully become successful businesses, and we will help them in that to help again our country to build a more robust economy to meet our development goals. The thing here is they may not find the solution. There might not be a solution at the end, but they have learned from the process of finding the solution. That is what is important. So we're trying this out now with our college in Laguna, a small class in computer science, but we're doing this for senior high school so that when they go to the tertiary level, they will be more or less ready and excited about the, the, their work. Another thing that the pandemic brought out was really exacerbated the mental health of our young people. Many of we were just talking earlier that some of them are saying, "I'm so tired. It's college is so difficult. You know, they're not as strong. They seem to be more fragile." So in a challenge-based learning modality, they are the ones that are helped to choose a challenge which they can be passionate about. And if so, they're passionate, then they will be persevering, they will have the grit to find and look for the solutions of a challenge that they have chosen. Hopefully, that will also bring about a lifelong learning mentality.
Thank you, Brother Bernie. So we'll go first to our online participants. Can we have them on screen? So we'll begin with Dr. Paul Wilson. Dr. Paul, hello.
Hello. Hello.
Would you like to share your insights in this discussion?
Yeah, I have few points to make. Thank you, President of NUS, for wonderful knowledge and wisdom that you shared with all of us. I have made my 5 minutes, maybe a talk on talk into two divisions. One is on the challenges in the higher education that we face in India. The number two is about the lifelong education challenges that we see and how we want to repurpose and reimagine. Let me start with the challenges that we immediately faced immediately after reopening the institution for the physical classes. We had a lot of challenges like everyone would have gone through during the pandemic. And when students entered into our portals, we found the real need of physical classroom situation. We found out that normally students learn through the campus intelligence, or we call social intelligence. We have a lot of clubs, a lot of societies, wherein they all involve in various club activities, which was completely missing during the pandemic. And we could see kind of a staggered behavioral patterns of students when they entered into the campus life. So that was our primary objective to deal with, in various issues that we encountered in handling students. So I felt that in the blended learning, on the one way we have positive aspects, on the other side, in case we try to extrapolate to the other extent, probably we might lose the social intelligence, which becomes a very important, aspect of 21st century skills, where we're looking forward for collaboration and communication, apart from critical thinking and creative thinking. So this is the first thing that we witnessed as a challenge, and slowly we were able to, in a very graded approach, we were able to mitigate that issue, and we are now back to normalcy. That's one thing. The number two issue that we found out is about enrollment. And all over Tamil Nadu, the southern part of India, we found out that suddenly the admissions or enrollment to the Department of Mathematics declined. And we found out the case similar in other institutions. I do not know about the other part of India, but we found out that mathematical education enrollment was very, very, very poor. I do not know about the other countries that I need to really want to learn about all these things from all of you. And now we are trying to, repurpose, reimagine, and rebrand the mathematical education through experiential learning, immersive programs, and popularizing mathematics among the school children because of the 1.5 years of absenteeism that has led to these implications in the enrollment. So enrollment is a second a very important concern that we are trying to address now. So it's a post-pandemic values have changed. So it's like a co-creation of curriculum with students and others, 360-degree engagement with the stakeholders that we need to think about it in order to be very relevant to the present day dispensation. And we third thing, even enrollment in halls of residence started changing now. People prefer different curfew times. People started thinking about very differently when it comes to the residence that they want to probably opt for. And pedagogical redesign. During our pandemic, we reimagined our pedagogical redesign. We conceived the idea of innovation as a pedagogy. Now we heard about challenge-based education. I would say innovation is similar to that. Innovation as a pedagogy. The statistics says that the millennial kids, Generation Z kids, mostly around 62% kids, they identify themselves as innovators. I think keeping that in mind, we wrote a proposal to Madras Rubber Factory, and they invested $5 million in establishing innovation park in Madras Christian College with the $5 million that we are able to now create an ecosystem for promoting all the ideas to a level of startup. I think that's something trend setting that is happening, that is serving as a pedagogy, engaging students into the academics. So what we do is we have integrated the innovation as part of our formative assessment, wherein one of the formative assessments will be conducted through a kind of an open forum where the students will come up with their own ideas and the industrialists will come as adjudicators and find out the best ideas and try to incentivize the best ideas. That's one thing. The other side, we will be assessing them for marks also. So by this, we are trying to redesign, reimagine the formative assessment to make the engagement possible with students, because more than 20 minutes, it is difficult for us to retain the students in a classroom because attention span crisis is prevalent among students of Generation Z kids. Even after pandemic, it's very high. And the third one is about global engagement. We found out that global engagement is declining. So this is the reason that I started traveling all around different countries, and I met with the presidents of different countries, and we are trying to now bring back the global engagement in a very sustainable manner. We found out that our engagement earlier was not sustainable. It was not having any solid foundation to sustain it and keep it as a resilient one, even during the pandemic. And now we found out the methodology and the framework to keep it more resilient by creating a lot of interdisciplinary international internships, wherein the collaborations between the partnering institutions will sustain our interaction, our commitment, even among the kind of crisis that we probably encounter. So these are some of the issues that we have been going going through. And when it comes to closure of certain programs, when I travel around the world, I found out that the same situation prevails in other institutions also, where they found out that certain courses were not sold in the market. That means they had to close the program. Now, I would say, maybe I would try to speculate, saying that let us not close the program immediately. It might be seasonal. So the first thing that we need to do probably is that we have to reimagine the pedagogy and curriculum. Think of co-creation of curriculum design with the help of the stakeholders like industry and students and faculty members together and make it so relevant. And we are trying to repurpose mathematics through computer science now. So probably that might work is our speculation. Coming to the second part of my ideation, this lifelong learning. The social objective of this country is to create a workforce or human resources as innovators and skill developers, and skilled workforce. The skill deficit of this country, India, is now ranging from 48 to 70%. So keeping social objective in the mind, we are trying to redesign our extend. We call this continuing education. We don't call this lifelong education. We have a unit. The UGC, University Grants Commission gave us because of the autonomy in the 1978, and as a part of autonomy, we were entitled to create an ecosystem for continuing education. So we have been running it now. So now we are redesigning our the courses and curriculums and programs as part of the continuing education, mostly towards creating human resources as innovators, because we need kind of students who would probably get into the industry and seamlessly transition themselves. So with the social objective, we are trying to increase employability. We would like to offer some education management courses for the professional development of the principals in the schools as part of it, and personal development and early childhood education. All these things that are included as part of redefining and reimagining the continuing education in MCC. So, and the idea of blended learning proposed by the president, and definitely in the area of general courses, I would say definitely would be helpful, because we need a lot of faculty members in the case of general courses, where we can bring in all the students from various domains, and we can try to hybridize the learning of general courses, and progressively in a very graded approach, we can try to see whether in equilibrated manner will it work when it comes to no more than UGC says around 60%, 40%. 40% can be through a online mode and 60% through the offline mode. This is a policy that we have in India. So we have to comply with the policies available, and we have to grade in a very graded manner. We need to progress further. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. And now let's go to Dr. Engineer Uyati Ningsi.
Okay, thank you very much.
Afternoon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah, I hope my voice.
I can hear you, Dr. Uyati.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prof. Tan Eng Chie, for the great opportunity to hear from your side, from the National University of Singapore. Before I talk about lifelong learning, I will share about how the situation in our country, in Indonesia, especially for the private university in Indonesia. Nowadays, we have the difficulty to compete with the state university and the higher level of the university, because the enrollment, as Mr. Paul talked before, that the enrollment of students is decreasing, and we also have the experience not only for the some subject, but almost all private university has these difficulties, and we have the experience that many young generation, many students want to enter state university because they have already the reputation, good reputation, and also lower tuition fee, and also with the higher level, not like the private university that we are considered as the second tier of university. And the other students will also continue their study, not enter university, but they want to go to the open university. It means that they don't have to go to the campus, but they can learn from their home or from their area. This is the difficulties that we have to face nowadays. I think this is important because we have to think how we can run our university, our business with the small number of students. This is our great challenge now. On the other side is that the private university, like our university, maybe not that have stronger like the state university, because we have limited resources. But we have to compete with the fast growing technology, how we can provide the students with the infrastructure. It is also a challenge for us, because the fast growing technology, maybe we cannot not run as fast as the growing technology itself. But we still have the hope that we develop our vision with the SERU. SERU means Sustainable Entrepreneurial Research University. With this vision, we hope that our university can sustain in the future, and we will redesign also. We will rethink about how we can enroll our students, and how can we attract the students to enter our university. And nowadays, the private university also has the challenge to get the Unggul accreditation, or we call Unggul as the excellence accreditation, because with this excellent accreditation, we can promote our university better, and we can also attract more students in our university. Actually, for the lifelong learning, this is not really new, because we have some method and some kind of similar lifelong learning before. For example, in our case, Indonesian minister has already developed the MBKM, Merdeka Kampus Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka. It means independent learning, independent campus. This gave our opportunity to share with other institutions, to collaborate with industry company, and also give more opportunity for students to enter industrial company, and also to enter community, and have broadened knowledge from outside, not only in campus. But again, the challenge is how we can give the students the opportunity, because it is also costly. We have to send our students to industrial companies, and it is also costly. Not only in the campus, we have to add some money for this program, and this also a big challenge for us, especially for if we have to run this program by ourselves, not subsidized by the government. We have to get more money to subsidize the students. But we think that we have already also think about how we can create, how we can develop our curriculum, our research interdisciplinary. I agree with the president that interdisciplinary is the key of the success of a lifelong learning, because we cannot do by ourselves now. We have to collaborate with other disciplinary, because the fast growing technology also have to be approached by multidisciplinary, not only from our side. And this is also our concern, that we develop some research, interdisciplinary research, and some courses with students from many discipline or many faculties. The other things is about the mental health. I agree that the situation has an impact of the mental health, and we have already developed our service, our consulting service for this mental health, so the students can get service from this bureau, because we know that the young generation, the Gen Z is different. We have to treat differently. So this mental health is a big issue for us for nowadays. So we can learn how we can treat the students with the situation that we can face nowadays. So I think with with this principle, we develop our principle Duta Wacana Christian values. We have 4 pillars of values that will strengthen our students so they can face the world, so they can continue their study and also enter the working that they will enter after they finish their study. So this is our thing, and thank you very much for the opportunity that I can share in this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Riati. And so last but not least, Father Bobby.
Thank you. Thank you very much, President Tan, for your talk. I've always looked up and admired yourself and NUS. I think you are really the leader of educational innovation in ASEAN, and we always learn a lot when we hear you speak and then hear you present. Um, I really agree. The learning how to learn is really the key mission, and that's very important. And we do share that here in the Ateneo. But thank you for sharing the ways that you really try to operationalize lifelong learning at the NUS. Here in the Ateneo, I think our understanding of developing learning how to learn is that we really emphasize what we call our core curriculum. I was struck by you saying that you were trying to expand the horizontal bar of your T or your pi. Uh, we pride ourselves. We think that that is one real strength that we have in Ateneo. All our undergraduates take a lot of humanities, liberal arts, in languages, English and Filipino. We take philosophy. We have many philosophy subjects. As a Catholic institution, we take theology, and then there's also a lot, some social sciences that people have to take, economics, sociology, political science, history, and then there's also introductory courses in sciences and mathematics. So when the Commission on Higher Education said decrease the general education, I think it was to 24 or something. We resisted. We said no, it doesn't work. That's not who we are. So we decreased a bit, but not that much, and we still maintain because we think it's the strength where we can help our students develop critical thinking skills, effective communication, have a broad perspective on things, have certain curiosity, creativity, and innovation. We think that's very important for us. Um, Second, I thank you for the comments on blended learning. I think the pandemic taught us that we could do it, but I also agreed with you. I was very happy to hear that in some sense, NUS is saying you really need the on-site and face-to-face. We cannot go completely virtual. And here in this campus, I think even if we ask our students, uh, they like to come and they like to mingle and interact, and they like to uh, be with their peers and have this campus life that is there. We have a very beautiful campus, and I think it'll just go two ways if we all go virtual. So, but again, our challenge has been, and thank you for the examples you gave on how you try with great difficulty. I think also how you really try to move towards the blended learning. That's what we said, that yeah, face to face is first best for us, but the technology that's available that we discovered during the pandemic is also important. It has its benefits, and we need to integrate the two. How can we use it? So the ideas of videos and less lectures and more that, and then use the class time in a different way, in a more creative way, is a real challenge, I think, and it is not an easy challenge to do. Uh, More so when Gen AI developed, when we got Chat GPT, and we had all these challenges now with Chat GPT available and challenging us in terms of clearly was assessment. How do you assess? And we know you have Chat GPT who can write essays for you and can solve problem sets and things like that. The other one is, I think, the Gen A also challenges us to how can we utilize that technology in our own instruction, in our own pedagogy. Uh, Again, it's part of the blended learning idea that we have to face with, we have to grapple, and it's moving very fast. So uh, So it's nice to, I think, share and to learn, how do we navigate this and how do we push this blended learning idea. Um, the third thing I'd like to share is we're right now it's still in the beginning, but we're trying to develop a new engineering course. We don't have the traditional engineering here in Ateneo. We don't have a civil, electrical, mechanical. We have one engineering, electrical and communications engineering. We have something called management engineering, but that's really more a management course. Uh, but we're trying to develop now, and we're trying to get approval from CHED for this BS Innovation Design Engineering, which we have. We're working with ECAM, which is a group of schools in France, which also has branches in Portugal, in Brazil, in India, and there are many aspects to it. It's very problem based. They have to do internship with industry, so they have to go out and work on a problem that the company has uh, for that. And then also it's very interdisciplinary, so it's not only mechanical but also electrical, civil, and even management and other sciences involved in developing it. And then it's also international, so that they will spend some time also abroad in one of the campuses of ECAM. So we're very excited by it. We hope that we can launch it very, very soon. So, and then finally, for lifelong learning, we have a center for continuing education. We call it. It's based in our Graduate School of Business. So it really teaches management type of subjects, some accounting, strategic planning, organization development, etc. But in the past few years, we've been talking about how we can expand the offerings, because it's very business management oriented. But we have this program that can handle it, and how can we offer more continuing education, so into things like data science and Gen AI, even disaster risk reduction and management, and things like that, which are more relevant. And the key thing, of course, is are there markets for these courses itself? So yeah, there's really a lot to do, and it's a very exciting time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Bobby. I would have wanted to ask you more questions, but I think we're running out of time. And I hope, Dr. Lawrence, you can hold on for a bit, just so that we can entertain at least one or two questions from the audience or online audience. Uh, Chris?
Good evening, everyone. We have just to share with our panelists. We peaked at 130 online participants this afternoon, and we still have about 110 with us at the moment. And so, maybe invite maybe a couple or just a few of our participants. One question from our participants online. You may post it on the chat box, or alternatively, you may raise your hand and I will acknowledge you if there are any questions or comments from our online participants. So far, ma'am, there is none. Perhaps you can get from our live audience.
Yes. Please, Dr. Tanchang. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stan, for sharing with us your thoughts and your experience with NUS. I have a question about the common curriculum. Father Bobby also mentioned that there's a core curriculum in the Ateneo de Manila University. But for the common curriculum, you mentioned that there's 15 uh, 15 course. I was wondering about the story of how you pruned down that to the 15 courses. I imagine there's a lot of politics involved and decisions that were made and coming down to that 15 courses. And the corollary question is that You have a College of Design and Engineering and a College of Humanities, but I saw that there was 15 in one and 13 in the other. And I was wondering about how different or similar these common curricula are. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have to actually go to every department and talk to the professors. All right. Me and Provost, each of us visit the departments to talk to them. So every department is visited twice. We also took the opportunity to do the change during COVID. Because in 2020, we have the lockdown. And after the lockdown, while we are trying to open up, the 1.5 years was everyone is very cautious, right? And everyone seems to be waiting for instructions from the government, on what should we do? Should we continue to wear masks? Should we do our ART test and so on and so forth? So I thought that that was a good opportunity to just say that instead of just sitting around waiting for instructions, why don't we just get everyone to do something? So I went down to talk to all my departments in mass, right? And I convinced them that if we want to change, you change when you are strong. When you're forced to change, then you are actually in a very disadvantageous position. So I managed to convince the professors. Mind you, it's not easy to merge a faculty. Right. And you notice about the 13 courses and the 15 courses. One thing that I did not mention, although I just alluded to it, is that the courses are taught in an interdisciplinary manner. So we actually follow the American model, but not exactly. The American model uses distributional model in the sense that they would ask the students to pick some courses from the humanities, some courses from the social sciences, some courses from science, and some from mathematics. Each of these courses is still taught by the department, right? One of the big change that I have done is to take teaching out of the department. If you notice, I've cut down the department courses from 25 to 30 to 15. 15 is the right number because we look at most US universities, especially the top ones. The major requirements is about 15, 1.5 years, right? So we said that if we think that we are as good, then 15 is enough, right? And indeed, for many of the engineering and all this, they are ranked quite high, I think, in the world. So I said, you should be confident of yourself that this is enough. Now, what do I mean by teaching interdisciplinary course? So I'll give you an example. In the common curriculum for the College of Humanities and Science, while we encourage our students to do philosophy 101, history 101, but we actually want them to do an integrated humanities course, where I put a team of professors from humanities to co-teach the course. I have an integrated social science course. And for instance, instead of teaching physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics, I teach them integrated science. There are 2 courses on scientific inquiry. Integrated science is a course that has been taught in some of the courses in some of the universities, but not wildly popular because it requires different disciplines to come and teach together. So what we've done is that we have the advantage that in NUS, we started more than 20 years ago a special program in science. And that one is an integrated science course. So we already have the component for integrated science, now I basically scale it up using blended learning. I scale it up because we have people who are teaching that course, but to a small group of 40 students. Now we open it up for 2,000 students. All right. It's also because of some of the things that we have done in the past that we are able to do that. Engineering, the merger between the School of Design and the Faculty of Engineering is the most challenging. The Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, I didn't merge them because they are on different sides of a hill. So even if I merge them, I would not be able to promote that sort of collaboration. Whereas School of Design and Faculty of Engineering happen to be next to one another. But the more important thing is that there is a lot of intellectual overlap between engineering and design, where we train most of our architects. So I give the example. In the School of Design, they have a new net positive energy building. It's wonderful, you architects design this net positive energy building. You're contributing energy to the grid, right? But you are able to do the net positive energy because of the deep engineering work that our engineers have put inside there, right? So that shows that it is so important for engineers and architects to work together. Especially, I think our big sort of challenge is how to look at existing brown buildings and convert them to green. Right? You really need engineers and designers to work together. So we managed to convince them. And you see the essence is also that I have taken teaching out of the department. I often say that universities and the world has problems, but universities have departments. And our teaching is always focused in the departments. The professors don't want to give up their teaching. But I actually have a P&L, profit and loss, for every department. It's dependent on the number of students that they teach. So because I cut the major, it actually forces the department to teach in the common curriculum.
Thank you very much for
It's a bit of the financial incentive there.
So unfortunately, that's all we have time for. It would have been nice to have more discussions among you, but we really are running out of time. So perhaps at this point, maybe we heard a lot of inspiring ideas, positive and negative effects of the pandemic, that negative for the mental health, but positive in the shift of the way we teach, which is really an issue that Dr. Wilson also and Dr. Riati had mentioned. There are problems of enrollment, but I think what is very important is that given all these problems, each of our schools, wherever the context is, have tried to solve it within their particular contexts. No? Lifelong learning or lifelong education has been discussed here a lot, and what we are seeing is whether it's lifelong education, challenge-based learning, or problem-based learning, we see that a good amount of interdisciplinarity, innovation, and internationalization is very important to bring all of these different new modes of delivery and new modes of learning together. So maybe at this point, we reach the end of our program, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Parina Lawrence, President of the United Board for Christian Higher Education in Asia, for her closing remarks. Dr. Lawrence?
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I will keep my remarks really short because I know that we have come to the close of this program. I just wanted to thank everybody, President Yap, President Eng Chai, Dr. Kueng Keng, and all our distinguished participants and fellow leaders in Asian education. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It is with great pride and gratitude that we have gathered here today at the inaugural roundtable discussion on current issues and opportunities in higher education in Asia. This is a momentous occasion because this program is supported by the United Board for Christian Higher Education in Asia in collaboration with the Lily Gokongwei Ngochua Leadership Academy of Ateneo de Manila University. And this truly marks the beginning of a journey towards a brighter future for our students, institutions, and the region as a whole, as we develop academic leaders that will serve our institutions in Asia. Throughout this event, we have had the privilege of listening to insights from our distinguished keynote speaker, Professor Tan Chai, as to how NUS has adopted the lifelong learning mandate as an example for many of our institutions in Asia. In particular, hearing from the experiences from all of our panelists and our leaders in higher education was also enlightening. We together explored the challenges and opportunities that lie before us in promoting lifelong education among our students amidst all the other complex problems that you raised today. I think the one thing I would like to stress here is that lifelong education, particularly in an ever-changing world, has become a necessity rather than a luxury. Having been an academic for 30 years, we have always talked about lifelong learning, right? We've always talked about it as a disposition. We want our students to build curiosity and become lifelong learners. But I think the mandate now is a much stronger mandate. It's not just about building this disposition, though that's clearly there. The rapid pace of technological advancement, the demographic changes, the geopolitical tensions, demands that we equip our students with the skills, knowledge, and adaptability to thrive in this dynamic future. So it's no longer, I think we can just stop and say that, we've given them a fabulous education in the 4 years that we were with them, and now they are going to become lifelong learners. I think we need to step up our game because technology is changing so fast that we need to upskill them. So that's the challenge that lies before us. And this, again, is not going to be easy because it's uncertain. We don't know what those skills are because many of those haven't yet emerged. And because we are a traditional institution, most of our institutions are very traditional, there are also the obstacles that come with change. So we need to strike this very delicate balance between tradition and innovation. And as I hear you from all of you, I mean, it's really heartening because you understand this very delicate balance that must, we have this rich cultural intellectual heritage that as you steer your institutions forward, yet we need to be adaptable and relevant given the times that we are in. So yes, we need to be vigilant in preserving core values and principles while at the same time embrace innovation and make sure our students as well as our alumni, we cannot forget that after our students leave and become alumni, they still need us. They still need that upskilling. So inviting them to come back in becomes even more important as we navigate this complex world that's ahead of us. So, all of these, plus the challenges you mentioned, the ones of access, inclusivity, all of these are really, again, important issues that we cannot simply forget just because we are focusing on a different set of problems now. So it's, the task before you is truly daunting. There's so many things that one must address. and different regions have different challenges. But if not us, who will address these problems and challenges? So I just want to again reiterate that United Board is delighted to be part of the solution. We have this amazing convening power where we can bring leaders together to talk about these issues, to learn from one another and understand our roles and responsibilities as we shape the next generation of leaders. So thank you again for coming together and participating in this conversation. And as I close, I just want to again mention that this platform that we have created here, and this was the inaugural roundtable. We hope that this platform that we have continues on to address these challenges, these challenging questions, and brings together leaders who can craft partnerships, solutions together. Because the one thing we know is we cannot solve for these problems by ourselves. We must come together and learn from one another, as well as partner with one another, just as we partner with industry and others to solve for our problems. We have to partner with one another as fellow institutions. So as we embark on this journey towards the future, we understand that lifelong learning is no longer just a concept or a disposition that we want our students to have, but it is more than that, a reality which we must deliver on. So with that, I close and thank you again for your collective efforts to bear fruit in the advancement of Asian higher education. Delighted to be part of this esteemed, to hear you all speak, and thank you again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lawrence. Before Dr. Lawrence goes, can you please stay online together with our other panelists online? May we invite the panel to stand up and we can take a photo op first. We will also, after this, take a photo op with the other Zoom participants. Chris, no? For the ones in the audience, please stay. We'll just distribute the certificates and then I'll ask the panelists to sit down here and we'll have a picture with you, okay? So let's begin first with our Dr. Martin, Dr. Isabel. Dr. That's right.
Okay. Maybe to our Zoom team on the other end, maybe project the whole screen, please. Thank you. And we request all our Zoom participants to please turn on their cameras. We're taking a photo of you both in Zoom and on site. Everyone's looking good. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. Just move another screen. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you very much.
So we will now just give the certificates. I invite Dr. Martin to please give the certificates first to Professor Dan. Professor Dan. Thank you so much. To our panelists, Dr. Cynthia Bautista, Brother Oka, Father Bobby. For the certificates of Dr. Wilson and Dr. Wiati Ninsi, they will be sent to you, of course, via email. Okay, thank you so much. And as we conclude our roundtable discussion, I would like to express my gratitude to Professor Tan, our panelists, and the audience for your invaluable insights and for contributing to the success of the Lilis inaugural roundtable discussion. We hope to see you again at next year's roundtable. Also, please watch out for the future activities of the Lily as we offer courses on the whole person educational leadership designed with the Asian higher education leader in mind. May we invite now the panel to please sit on the first row so that we can take picture from here onwards. And we will also be flashing on screen the QR and URL codes for uh, evaluation so that you can get your e-certificate upon your submission of the evaluation form. We hope that you will continue to support the future events and initiatives of the Lily Gokongwei Ngochua Leadership Academy. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. May we invite everyone to come closer and have a photo op with us. Thank you.